Greetings. So, what exactly are you looking at? It's a queen with the crown lifted high in triumph and a dress that shimmers like a serpent's skin. It almost looks alive, a vision of glory destined to crumble into dust. Except this moment never quite happened. Not on stage, not in Shakespeare's play. This is John Singer Sargent's painting, titled Ellen Terry as Lady Macbeth, created in 1889. A vision of ambition, scandal, and theatrical legend. Welcome, my friend. You've wandered into the art bog again. Pull up a chair. This one's a tale worth lingering on. Let's set the scene. London, winter of 1888. The Lyceum Theatre glows with gaslight. Crowds press inside for Henry Irving's grand version of Macbeth. Irving was more than just an actor/manager. He was the first actor ever to be knighted, a towering figure of Victorian theater, known for his magnetic presence and acting control on the stage. He commanded the theater, and opposite him, Ellen Terry, Britain's most celebrated Shakespearean actress, adored for her natural style and emotional depth. She commanded the spotlight, and the role she took that night, Lady Macbeth, was Shakespeare's most dangerous queen, a figure of ruthless ambition and haunting guilt. So, December 29th, the curtain rises. Terry steps out. The audience gasps, not at her voice, not at the acting, at the dress, and honestly, who wouldn't? A murmur runs through the theater, as if London has seen a ghost appear. It was like nothing anyone had seen. Designed by Alice Commons Carr, crocheted by Ada Nettleship, it was a dress of silk and velvet and more than 1,000 beetle wings. Under the lights it shimmered, half chainmail, half reptile's hide. Shakespeare gave the line, "Look like the innocent flower, but be the serpent under't." And that is what the gown became. Beautiful, yes, but dangerous. Oscar Wilde couldn't resist a jab. He said Lady Macbeth looked like an economical housekeeper who did her shopping in Byzantium. Typical Oscar Wilde, never missing a chance for a barb. Terry herself wrote to her daughter, explaining that no photograph could capture its splendor. She knew it was more than clothing. It was a weapon. It wasn't a costume, it was a spell. A spell that glittered like armor, though time would not be kind to it. In the audience that night, John Singer Sargent. The painter was transfixed, and he wasn't the only one. He asked Terry to sit for him, but he didn't paint the play. He invented something else. Lady Macbeth raising Duncan's crown as if victory were already hers. An instant of triumph. Pride crowned before the fall. You can almost hear Shakespeare's warning in it. He lit her with paint like a spotlight on stage. Set her against ultramarine blue. At Burne-Jones's suggestion, he cooled the gown from green to blue. Sharper, colder, more regal. Colors chosen to chill, not to comfort. Even the frame joined in. Heavy, gilt, carved with Celtic motifs, likely designed by Sargent himself. And now, the woman behind the queen. Look at her eyes, fierce, wild. The crown hovers above her head, not yet placed, always just beyond reach. The dress glitters with the wings of the dead, beauty on the surface, decay beneath. Lady Macbeth in fabric, but also Ellen Terry herself. Off stage, she lived boldly, too boldly for Victorian England. The critics whispered, the audiences adored. She left her husband, raised children outside marriage, lived on her own terms, and paid the price for it. Her partnership with Irving made the Lyceum world famous, but he held the money, the power, the spotlight. Both woman and character were reaching for crowns, one for power, the other for independence. That's why the role fit her so perfectly. Here, in Sargent's portrait, Terry towers over them all, larger than Irving, greater than the theater itself. When the painting was unveiled in 1889, it was a sensation. People couldn't stop talking about it. London came. Paris the next year. In 1893, Chicago, the World's Fair, Americans lined up by the thousands. Imagine the glitter of that gown under Chicago's lights. Liverpool saw it in 1896. The reaction was the same. Everywhere it went, it was treated like a treasure. The portrait carried Terry's legend with it. After Irving's death in 1905, the portrait was sold. Joseph Duveen bought it. He was one of the most powerful art dealers of the early 20th century, famous for bringing European masterpieces into the hands of American millionaires. Duveen's influence often decided which works ended up in private mansions and which went into museums, shaping how the world saw art. He could make or break a masterpiece's destiny. And he gave it to Tate Britain, where it still commands the room. Unfortunately, the gown did not share that fortune. By the early 1900s, its beetle wings had begun to fall away. The velvet faded. The fabric collapsed into tatters. It must have looked pitiful besides its memory of glory. And then the cruelest twist. Insects began to eat the beetle wings themselves. The reptile's hide, devoured by its own kind. If Shakespeare had written it, you'd think it too cruel a metaphor. But life often writes harsher scripts. A century later, in 2010 and 2011, conservators finally stepped in. 1,300 hours, 110,000 pounds. The work saved it, stitch by stitch, wing by wing. Today it shimmers again, restored at Small Hythe Place, Ellen Terry's former home in County Kent, England. You can stand before the painting at Tate Britain in London, then travel to Small Hythe Place to see the gown itself. It dominates the wall like a theater set. Together, they tell a story of drive and desire, on stage, on canvas, and in life. And that's the story I wanted to share with you today. Thanks for walking through the art bog with me. My name is Bogdan Migulski, and I've been your host. If stories like this stir you, where art and theater collide in beauty and danger, subscribe and ring the bell, because the drama of history is always waiting on canvas.